Hi, I'm Amy Bell. I'm a personal development trainer and coach, and one of my superpowers lies in my ability to cultivate super learners, the kinds of people that can get ridiculously good at just about anything fast. So what I want to show you in this 5-part video series is the 5 traps and barriers to learning, the kinds of things that people do that slow them down, the kinds of things that people do where they get in their own way, the kinds of things that people do that often just flat out rob them of the opportunity to learn something new and develop sensational skills. Now, when I say people, I mean you and I mean me. These are things that everybody does. These are very human tendencies that play out in the context of learning. So should you find yourself throughout this series going, oh yeah, I do a bit of this one, oh, I do a bit of this one too, that's great. That's amazing, because with that awareness, then you can choose differently. And I'm going to be showing you how to choose differently so that you are behaving in the ways that a super learner would respond in that situation. Now, there's another way that you might respond to this series as well, and that might be that you notice a tendency to deny that you do any of these things. So should you find yourself throughout this series going, no, I don't do that, no, I don't do any of these things, then that might also be some feedback for you in terms of like where you're at right now in this tendency that we have as human beings to not want to notice certain things about ourselves, not want to see where we might be doing things that aren't serving us, or we might be recognizing things that we might label as a flaw, or things that we don't think are good. So should you find yourself with that tendency playing out, the tendency to deny that you do any of these things, that's also a really useful insight for you to have in terms of like where you're at right now and what you're ready to look into and what you're not. So all of this is welcome. Are you ready? The first trap, the first barrier to learning, the first way that we slow ourselves down is often we can be sorting by relevance. This is where we start filtering the information for what we imagine is relevant to us and for us, and what we assume is not. And when we do this, we can often rob ourselves of the opportunity to learn things that actually are relevant to us and for us. For example, one of the things that I teach in my NLP practitioner course is hypnosis. We explore Ericksonian hypnosis. And one of the things that can happen is, I might have somebody who's used to working in the corporate space, they manage teams, they're there to become better leaders in some way. And they might, at that point in the course, as we start to dive into Ericksonian hypnosis, sort by relevance and go, well, I don't want to be a hypnotherapist. How is learning hypnosis going to be relevant to me? I don't need to pay attention to this. This isn't relevant to me or for me. And when they make that kind of assumption, what they're not noticing is that all of the ways that hypnosis can help you to communicate influentially. I don't know how that might be useful for somebody working in a leadership role, but I imagine that that's something that would be relevant for somebody working in a leadership role. So sometimes, often the case when we're learning things, you don't know what you're learning while you're learning it. It's only after the fact that you can look back across time and notice what you've learned, notice what you can do differently that you couldn't do before, and how you can take this skill and apply it in a variety of different contexts and different ways. And so sometimes when we're sorting by relevance, we make this assumption that this isn't relevant for me, or we can't see how this is relevant. And in that moment, if what you do is you choose to switch off, then you are robbing yourself of the opportunity to learn something that might be incredibly useful for you if you gave it a chance. So should you find yourself sorting by relevance, that's fine. Catch yourself in the moment doing that, and then ask yourself, where might this be useful? How might this be useful? In what context might this be useful that I hadn't considered until now? And even if you don't have an immediate answer to those questions, just the process of exploring those things is going to help you to stay open. And when you can stay open, then you can allow the learning to take place. You can soak up and absorb everything that there is to be learned.